The White House is breaking with precedent set by the Obama administration and will not release its visitor logs. The decision to freeze the information without specific Freedom of Information Act requests was announced in perhaps the ultimate of Friday news dumps. You know what a Friday news dump is? You put it on the Friday so that nobody gets to it. This was on the afternoon of Good Friday, so it was the ultimate. The Washington Post editorial board writes about the secret presidency, quote, for decades, and particularly since President Richard Nixon's administration, public pressure has led presidents to become steadily more open with citizens about how they conduct business and more mindful of ethics. Major party candidates have released their tax returns, revealing information about their finances and any potential conflicts of interest. And as of the Barack Obama presidency, the White House has released voluminous records on who visited the executive mansion grounds so citizens could know who was meeting with the president and his staff. The latest news is that Mr. Trump will not routinely release White House visitor records. Judging from his public statements, Mr. Trump calculates that there is little to no political price to be paid for flouting norms of ethics and openness. But his dismal poll numbers consistently show that Americans question his honesty. A time may come when he needs to ask the American people to have confidence in him. After undoing the nation's progress toward transparency, he may find that the reservoir of trust is very shallow. Joining us now from the White House, NBC News White House correspondent Kristen Welker. Kristen, this move by the White House is creating a lot of outrage on both sides of the aisle and in the media. What can you tell us?
A lot of backlash, Mika. There's no doubt about that. As you point out, this was released on Good Friday. Let me tell you what the White House is saying about this move, and then we can break down some of the criticism on the other side. They say this is for national security. Grave national security risks, they say, are at stake here, and also privacy concerns of the hundreds of thousands of visitors annually. I spoke to White House officials and said, what's going on here? And they said, look, we want people to feel comfortable coming to meet with officials here at the White House to provide information that may be in the nation's national security. Now, how is this different than the Obama administration? Well, under President Obama, he announced that he would release logs. He wound up releasing about 6 million in total, but there were some caveats. For example, they didn't release the logs of those who were visiting the first family and those visitors who did have highly selective information, like Supreme Court justices, for example. So this administration is pointing to some of those caveats and saying, look, under the Obama administration, this was essentially faux transparency because they didn't release all of their logs. They got to pick and choose. But the bottom line is there has been a lot of backlash about this, particularly from government watchdog groups who say this is a step in the wrong direction when it comes to government transparency. So what can be done about it? Well, we know that a group of senators have already sent a letter to the White House demanding that they reverse course in this, including Senator Gillibrand, Wyden, Reid, Sheldon Whitehouse, among others. That doesn't really have any bite. It seems like the only recourse is to file FOIA requests, Mika, and of course that takes time. So will these logs ever be released? They will be about 5 years after the president leaves office, but this debate is going to rage on, Mika.
So, Jeremy, I was semi-right, but there was precedent. People used to know, and now they don't or won't.
Exactly. And Kristen is 100% right. The Obama administration's transparency was not full and complete. So the Trump administration does have a point there. However, at least Obama gave the press something. There was some measure of disclosure, no matter how much of a fig leaf critics may have said it was. But it's not just the timing of this, it's the why.
Right.
That explanation that, oh, we want people to feel safe and comfortable coming into the White House so they don't have to, I mean, that is absurd.
Well, actually, I will say that I would think it's a little discomforting not to know who is influencing the president, who is around the president, who is going in and out of the people's house.
Exactly. This is the people's house. Taxpayers have a right to know.
Ethically challenged on
This is the best piece of public housing in the world. The president probably should set conditions for the kinds of things he won't disclose. President Obama, to his credit, laid out conditions: personal visitors, people with highly classified information, maybe even Supreme Court justices. This president's not doing that. He laid out a set of protocols and thresholds. That's one thing. But for what he's doing, I do hope all of those requests are made. If it takes a year or two to work its way through the court or longer, I think that the country deserves the press and others to make this case before the courts.
This is really another another example, though, of precedent going out the window with this administration. Just, you know, the ethical considerations, different things that we have always expected presidents to uphold that are just going out the window. And it's very hard to get back that kind of precedent that isn't enshrined in law once it goes.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.